The Watchers Among Us. Chapter 1, Whispers from the Sky. Ethan was only 12 when he first looked up at the stars and wondered if someone, was looking back. His telescope, a second-hand one with a cracked eyepiece, sat on the edge of his wooden desk by the window. Beyond it stretched the dark Florida sky, thick with humidity and glowing faintly from distant towns. Most nights, it was quiet. But tonight, he felt something different, an almost ancient hum in the air, as if the universe were holding its breath. He didn't know it yet, but his curiosity would carry him across millennia, into the oldest mysteries humanity ever faced, the question of whether we have ever been truly alone. The first signs. Ethan's story began not in his own time, but in the stories he devoured, accounts whispered through dusty scrolls, carved into temple walls, or hidden between the lines of sacred texts. He'd read about a place called Abydos, Egypt, where strange carvings on the temple of Seti appeared to show what looked like modern machines, helicopters, submarines, even flying saucers. To some, they were tricks of erosion. But to others, they were proof that ancient eyes had seen something they could never explain. His favorite, though, was the story of Ezekiel's vision. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet described seeing a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and within it, wheels within wheels, accompanied by beings with faces of men, lions, oxen, and eagles. To ancient theologians, it was divine revelation. But to curious minds like Ethan's, and to a growing number of modern researchers, it sounded eerily like a technological encounter. Maybe Ezekiel, Ethan thought, wasn't seeing angels, maybe he was seeing astronauts. The builders of light. The pyramids fascinated Ethan more than anything. He'd stare at diagrams late into the night, wondering how ancient Egyptians, without cranes or modern tools, had lifted limestone blocks weighing tons, aligning them perfectly to the Orion constellation. The precision was uncanny. The Great Pyramid's sides aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. Even modern engineers admitted it was a feat of impossible accuracy for its time. And then there was Teotihuacan in Mexico, the place where men become gods. Built long before the Aztecs, its layout mirrored the solar system. The Nazca lines in Peru, massive geoglyphs only visible from the sky, depicted monkeys, hummingbirds, and spiders stretching across the desert. Who were they signaling to, Ethan wondered, if not to someone flying above? Maybe, just maybe, humanity had help. He read of Sumerian tablets, some of the oldest written records on Earth, that spoke of the Anunnaki, gods who came from the heavens to shape mankind. Were they myths, or misunderstood memories of contact with ancient visitors? The texts described these beings teaching humans agriculture, astronomy, and language. It wasn't far-fetched to think early civilizations mistook advanced beings for gods. And in every corner of the ancient world, the same story repeated, carvings of winged figures, lights in the sky, fiery chariots, descending to earth. Could it all be coincidence? The ancient sky watchers. Ethan's favorite teacher, Mr. Carson, had once told the class that ancient people looked up at the stars not just with curiosity, but with familiarity. The Dogon tribe of Mali, for instance, had intricate knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, centuries before modern telescopes discovered it. How could they have known? They say, Mr. Carson had told them, leaning over the desk with a grin, that the knowledge came from beings called the Nommo, who descended from the sky in a great ship of fire and water. That night, Ethan lay awake, picturing these sky visitors teaching humans the secrets of the stars. Were they explorers like him, curious about life beyond their home? Did they see in early humans what he now saw through the lens of his telescope, a reflection of themselves? The great silence. Yet for all the myths and wonders, there was always silence. No evidence, no undeniable proof. Just whispers and stories, scattered across time. Ethan wondered if the truth had been buried, lost to floods, wars, or rewritten history. He thought of Renaissance art where strange, glowing objects floated in the sky. Of medieval manuscripts showing wheels of fire and heavenly discs. Of UFO sightings reported during the World War II, Foo Fighters era, when pilots saw glowing orbs darting beside their planes. Humanity had always seen something, but never quite understood it. Maybe we weren't ready to. The sky moves again. One night, as he gazed through his telescope, Ethan saw a light dart across the sky, not like a shooting star, but something purposeful, changing direction with impossible precision. His breath caught. He checked his phone's satellite tracker, nothing. No planes, no space station. He watched as the light paused, then winked out. For the first time, he felt that same hum again, that invisible tension between awe and fear. Maybe the ancient builders, the prophets, the tribes, and the artists had all seen what he was seeing now. Maybe this mystery had been unfolding for millennia, one generation of sky watchers passing their wonder to the next. And tonight, under the heavy blanket of stars, the next chapter was beginning, with him. Chapter 2, Echoes in the Static. The next chapter in Ethan's journey didn't begin in the stars, it began in the silence between them. He'd always known that space wasn't empty, it was full of whispers. Scientists had been listening for decades, ears pressed against the vast cosmic void, waiting for something, anything, to call back. And one night, while scrolling through astronomy forums, Ethan stumbled upon something that made his heart race, a story about a mysterious signal detected in 1977, known as the WOW signal. The WOW that shook the world. In August of 1977, astronomer Jerry Ehrman was analyzing data from Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope when he saw it, a strong, narrowband radio signal that lasted exactly 72 seconds. It came from deep space, near the constellation Sagittarius. Next to the strange spike in the data, Ehrman circled it and wrote one word in the margin: wow. The signal was never heard again. No satellites. No planets. Nothing human. Ethan imagined Ehrman's trembling hand, the hum of the telescope, and that electric realization: someone, or something, might have called us first. For Ethan, it wasn't proof. But it was enough to believe the universe wasn't silent. It was talking. Humanity just wasn't fluent yet. Secrets in the Desert, Roswell and Area 51. From the whispers of the cosmos, Ethan's curiosity turned earthward, to the deserts of New Mexico. It was July 1947 when a rancher named Mac Brazel discovered strange metallic debris scattered across his land near Roswell. The Army first announced they had recovered a flying disc. But by the next day, the story changed: it was just a weather balloon. Only, no one really believed that. Witnesses described shiny, lightweight materials that couldn't be bent or burned. Some spoke of small, gray bodies stored away at a nearby military base. The government story shifted too many times. And then came Area 51, a base so secret that for decades it didn't officially exist. Rumors spread of crashed crafts, reverse-engineered alien technology, and experiments hidden behind the Nevada mountains. Some claimed the Roswell wreckage was taken there, locked away in hangars lit by the cold blue of fluorescent lights. Ethan imagined dusty hallways lined with scientists in white coats, trying to decode technology that didn't belong to Earth. He wondered, if the truth really was there, hidden behind those guarded fences, would humanity ever be ready to face it? The people who claimed to know. Throughout his research, Ethan discovered something striking. It wasn't just government secrets or ancient myths, it was people. Ordinary people, from every walk of life, who said they'd seen things that defied explanation. He began to read their stories, each one more haunting than the last. The Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton, 1975. A logger from Arizona, Travis claimed he and his crew saw a glowing disk hovering in the forest. When he approached, a beam of light lifted him off the ground. He disappeared for 5 days. When he returned, dazed and terrified, doctors said he was physically unharmed, but he was never the same. He described metallic rooms, beings with large eyes, and a strange, humming energy that filled the air. Polygraph tests, eyewitness accounts, and government files all tangled in mystery. The Rendlesham Forest Incident, 1980. In England, U.S. Air Force personnel stationed near the Bentwaters base saw lights descending into the forest. They followed them and found a triangular craft glowing red, blue, and white. One officer even touched its surface, it felt warm, humming beneath his hand. The next morning, radiation was detected at the site. Official reports claimed nothing unusual, but the men who were there told a different story for the rest of their lives. The Phoenix Lights, 1997. In Arizona, thousands of people, police officers, pilots, families, watched massive, silent lights glide slowly across the night sky in a perfect V formation. The official explanation? Military flares. But the formation lasted far too long, too precise, too synchronized. To this day, no one truly knows what they saw. Commander David Fravor, The Tic Tac UFO, 2004. A U.S. Navy pilot encountered an object off the coast of California that defied all logic, a white, oval craft with no wings, no exhaust, moving like it ignored the laws of physics. It dropped from 80,000 feet to sea level in less than a second. The Pentagon later confirmed the footage was real. Not a trick. Not a weather balloon. Something else. Evidence in the shadows. Ethan filled notebooks with articles, photos, and declassified documents. Each one was a piece of a puzzle that didn't quite fit, but together, they formed something undeniable, a pattern. He read about NASA's unexplained radio bursts coming from deep space, some repeating at perfect intervals. About metallic orbs filmed by astronauts on the Apollo missions, flickering outside their capsules. About government task forces formed to study unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, in secret. Even Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb had suggested that Oumuamua, the strange cigar-shaped object that entered our solar system in 2017, might have been artificial, a piece of alien technology drifting silently through space. The more Ethan learned, the more questions bloomed in his mind. What if the lights in our sky, the radio pulses, the ancient carvings, all pointed to the same truth? What if contact had already happened, over and over, and we'd just never recognized it for what it was? The signal returns. One evening, Ethan sat with his headphones on, tuning into a live radio feed from a deep space array. Most of it was static, white noise from the universe. But then, faintly, a rhythmic pattern emerged. 3 pulses. Pause. 3 again. Then 4. He checked the timestamp. It wasn't a replay. It wasn't interference. It was new. Somewhere out there, beyond the dark ocean of stars, something was speaking again. He pressed his headphones tighter. The static hissed softly. And for a fleeting moment, Ethan thought he heard a whisper beneath it, something almost like a voice. Chapter 3: Seeds of the Stars. Ethan's obsession with the sky had transformed into something deeper, not just who might be out there, but how life itself could have begun. He had always imagined aliens as beings, intelligent, strange, mysterious. But now he was beginning to see the universe differently. Maybe the first aliens weren't green, or grey, or humanoid at all. Maybe they were microbes. Tiny travelers. Ancient wanderers. Seeds of life, drifting through the cosmos. The life that wouldn't die. Ethan first read about them in a scientific journal his teacher showed him, organisms so resilient they made life itself seem unstoppable. The most famous was Deinococcus radiodurans, nicknamed Conan the bacterium. It could survive radiation thousands of times higher than what would kill a human. It could live frozen, dried out, even blasted by the vacuum of space. Then there were the tardigrades, tiny, 8-legged, water bears. They'd been found everywhere from deep ocean trenches to Himalayan ice. In 2007, scientists launched a batch of them into orbit on the European Space Agency's Photon M3 mission. For 10 days, they floated unprotected in open space, frozen, irradiated, cooked by sunlight. When brought back to Earth and given water, many of them came back to life. To Ethan, that was the moment everything changed. If these creatures could survive space, then maybe life didn't start on Earth at all. Maybe it arrived. Panspermia, life as a cosmic traveler. The idea wasn't new. Scientists had a name for it, panspermia, the theory that life could spread across the universe by hitchhiking on comets, asteroids, or dust. In the cold darkness between stars, a rock from a dying planet might drift for millions of years. Inside, bacteria could lay dormant, frozen like ancient seeds. Then, one day, gravity might pull that rock toward a new world, warm, wet, welcoming. The bacteria would thaw, awaken, and begin again. Ethan pictured it. A comet streaking through the early solar system, trailing ice and dust. It hits a newborn Earth, releasing its microscopic passengers into oceans of molten blue. And from those invisible specks, everything, would one day evolve. Humans, animals, trees, even him, staring at the stars, wondering where it all began. Mars, the red mirror. If there was one place beyond Earth where life might have taken root, it was Mars. Ethan's walls were plastered with Mars rover photos, cracked plains, dry riverbeds, and sediment that looked unmistakably shaped by water. Scientists had found clear evidence that billions of years ago, Mars had lakes, rivers, and maybe even oceans. In 2018, radar instruments on the Mars Express orbiter detected something extraordinary, a subglacial lake beneath the Martian South Pole, hidden under a mile of ice. Then came the Curiosity rover, which found clay minerals and organic molecules in Gale Crater, carbon-rich compounds essential for life. And the Perseverance rover, still roaming the Jezero crater, was searching for fossilized microbes that might lie trapped in ancient sediment. Ethan imagined those microbes, frozen for eons, waiting for warmth and air. If water once flowed there, perhaps life had once swum there too, tiny, alien cousins of the bacteria that could survive space. And maybe, he thought, if panspermia was true, Mars and Earth might share the same ancestral spark. The living oceans of other worlds. But Mars wasn't the only suspect. Ethan learned that our solar system was filled with worlds that defied expectation, cold on the surface, yet alive beneath. Europa, the ocean beneath ice. One of Jupiter's moons, Europa, was smaller than Earth's moon, but beneath its icy crust, scientists believed there was a global ocean, twice the volume of all Earth's seas combined. The Galileo spacecraft detected strange magnetic readings there, suggesting a salty, conductive ocean beneath the ice. Cracks on its surface hinted that water from below sometimes burst out in plumes hundreds of miles high. Where there's water, there's potential for life. And if heat from Jupiter's gravity kept that ocean liquid, hydrothermal vents on its floor might resemble those on Earth, places where life began around volcanic warmth, fed by minerals instead of sunlight. Enceladus, the cryovolcanic moon. Then there was Enceladus, a tiny moon of Saturn, dazzling white and icy. In 2005, NASA's Cassini probe discovered geysers erupting from its south pole, jets of water vapor and organic molecules shooting into space. Inside that water, scientists detected hydrogen gas, likely produced by chemical reactions between rock and liquid water. On Earth, similar reactions powered entire ecosystems deep under the ocean, life born without sunlight, thriving on chemistry alone. Ethan wrote in his journal, "If life can exist at the bottom of our darkest seas, why not in Enceladus' hidden ones?" Titan, the methane world. Titan, another moon of Saturn, had rivers and lakes, not of water, but of liquid methane and ethane. Its atmosphere was thick and golden, rich in organic compounds. Scientists had even speculated about methane-based life, creatures that might breathe hydrogen instead of oxygen, and drink hydrocarbons instead of water. It was alien, yes, but life was clever. It adapted. It survived. Other possibilities. Ethan read about Ganymede, with its layered oceans of salt water, Callisto, with hints of an internal sea, and even Pluto, which showed traces of cryovolcanism that suggested hidden heat. Everywhere he looked, the universe seemed to whisper the same secret. Life finds a way. The unseen thread. Late one night, Ethan took out a small meteorite he bought from a science fair, a sliver of rock said to have fallen from Mars. It looked ordinary, grey and rough, but he imagined what it once was, part of another world, ejected by a colossal impact, drifting through space for millions of years before landing on Earth. He held it to the light and whispered, "Maybe you carried something once." Scientists had actually found Martian meteorites that contain possible microfossils, tiny, worm-like structures, and traces of organic carbon. Some dismissed it as contamination. Others weren't so sure. Maybe the truth was simple and profound: life wasn't born once, in one place. It was shared. Cosmic seeds. That night, as Ethan gazed through his telescope, he thought of everything he'd learned: bacteria surviving the void, oceans beneath ice, worlds shimmering with potential. Perhaps aliens weren't distant civilizations sending signals across the stars. Perhaps they were here all along, in the simplest forms, scattered like pollen through creation. And if comets and asteroids really did carry those seeds, then the universe wasn't a cold expanse. It was a garden. And every world, every ocean, crater, and moon, was just another place waiting to bloom. Chapter 4: Confessions in the Halls of Power. By now, Ethan had crossed into territory where history, myth, and secrecy collided. The ancient signs and cosmic whispers had set the stage. But this chapter would bring him closer to Earth again, into hidden government rooms, classified documents, and the brave few who dare to speak out. The cover is lifting. In 2022, the U.S. Department of Defense announced the creation of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, a successor to earlier programs investigating UFOs, or UAPs, such as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, the TEAP, and the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, UAPTF. AARO was tasked with investigating unidentified objects that traverse air, sea, space, and land. Its charter explicitly allows it to examine reports, collect data, and respond to anomalous phenomena. Critics and advocates alike saw the formation of AARO as an acknowledgement. The U.S. military could no longer dismiss UAP sightings as meaningless noise. But institutional recognition wasn't the same as proof. For that, Ethan turned to the whistleblowers, men and women who claimed they had seen too much to stay silent. Whistleblowers who broke the silence. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo is perhaps the most visible public figure in the modern UFO disclosure movement. A former U.S. military intelligence officer, he claimed to have worked on programs within the Pentagon investigating UAPs, particularly a TEAP. Elizondo has insisted that UAPs represent advanced technologies not of human manufacture. He has said the U.S. government holds exotic materials tied to UAPs and alleged secret retrieval operations of crashed objects. His critics have challenged many of his claims, pointing out gaps in public record and questions about how much he really knew or controlled. During congressional hearings, Elizondo called for greater transparency, suggested that some UAPs monitor military installations around the globe, and warned of retaliation against whistleblowers. David Grush. In 2023, David Grush, former intelligence officer and representative of the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, to the UAP task force, publicly testified before Congress. Grush made bold claims. He alleged a multi-decade, highly classified UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program that the government withheld from oversight. He claimed that some of the recovered craft are of non-human origin, and that biological remains, non-human biologics, had been retrieved from crash sites. When pressed, Grush said he lacked security clearance to provide full details outside of secured facilities, SCIFs. He stated that he had interviewed dozens of witnesses over years and believed the cover-up included threats to those who tried to expose the programs. The Pentagon and other government agencies have denied Grush's claims, stating they found no verifiable evidence of reverse engineering programs or alien technologies. The Tic Tac and other Navy encounters. Among all military UAP encounters, perhaps none is more famous, or more baffling, than the Tic Tac incident of 2004. Scenario. Off the coast of Southern California, U.S. Navy pilots operating from the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz detected an unidentified object on radar. Pilots scrambled to intercept and encountered a white, pill-shaped craft hovering above the sea. It lacked visible wings, rotors, or exhaust plumes. The object accelerated rapidly, changing direction in ways no known aircraft could, and performed maneuvers that defied the known laws of physics. One pilot, Commander David Fravor, described how the Tic Tac object descended from 80,000 feet to base level in under a second, hovered, and disappeared with no apparent means of propulsion. The Navy later confirmed the infrared video capturing that encounter, known among UFO enthusiasts as Flaw 1, Gimbal, and Go Fast, as authentic. Other U.S. military reports. Multiple Navy pilots and radar operators have come forward to report additional UAP encounters, objects that transition from sea to air, defy acceleration limits, or vanishing instantly from radar. In congressional hearings, pilots described unknown craft appearing in restricted military airspace and performing maneuvers beyond any known aircraft capabilities. The Pentagon itself has acknowledged that some recordings captured by Navy sensors show phenomena that cannot be explained with known technology. Sub-stories from the front. To Ethan, the best way to understand was through stories, true or contested, of people who looked into the unknown and never looked away. Alex Dietrich. Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich was one of the pilots near the Tic Tac incident. In interviews, Dietrich described seeing the object perform impossible movements and hover, with no discernible shape or propulsion system. She later said that reporting such incidents had professional risks, including damage to one's credibility or clearance. Tim Gallaudet, retired Rear Admiral. A former Navy oceanographer and official, Tim Gallaudet has publicly stated that during his service, he reviewed classified footage of UAP and USO, unidentified submerged phenomena. He has pledged support for broader disclosure and challenged the stigma around reporting sightings. At congressional hearings, Gallaudet has urged the destigmatization of UAP disclosures, noting that many naval personnel remain silent due to career risk. Christopher Mellon. Christopher Mellon, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, has long advocated for transparency. He played a role in declassifying and releasing UFO videos to the public, and has argued that the government should treat UAP seriously as potential national security threats. The tension between disclosure and denial. Ethan found himself torn between trust and skepticism. The testimonies were compelling, but many remained unverified in public. Some officials, including the Pentagon, consistently denied that any recovered craft or alien materials existed, or that any programs were operating beyond oversight. Meanwhile, institutional reports have noted that many UAP reports ultimately get explained as mundane phenomena, balloons, drones, sensor error, atmospheric anomalies, but a subset remain unexplained even after scrutiny. In 2025, several military and intelligence whistleblowers appeared before Congress to present new evidence that reinforced the idea that the government had kept secrets relating to transmedium objects and recovered materials. Defense Scoop. At the same time, independent scientists are turning to UAP as a legitimate subject of study. A recent paper titled, The New Science of Unidentified Aerospace Undersea Phenomena, UAP, treats them not as fringe speculation but as phenomena worthy of rigorous scientific modeling and observation. What Ethan felt. Ethan lay awake, going over every claim, every whistleblower, every recorded video and secret office. He wondered, if there really were recovered alien craft, why would a government hide them? Was it fear, shame, or danger? If non-human biologics existed, how would scientists treat them? As threats, curiosities, or kin? What did it mean that pilots, radar operators, and scientists were all telling similar stories, across time, across decades? In his mind, the boundary between myth and reality had grown faint. The universe had long whispered its secrets in ruins and signals. Now it was whispering closer to home, through corridors of power, through brave voices raised in testimony, through pilots chasing impossible craft in the night sky. Ethan rolled over and reached for his notebook. He'd write it all down. Because someday, he promised, if the world ever got the full story, he wanted to know how it came to light. Chapter 5: The Silence Before Discovery. The night was quiet again. Ethan sat beneath the same stars that had once sparked his curiosity, but now, they didn't feel silent anymore. They felt alive. Every glimmer seemed to hold a secret, every shadow between them a story yet untold. Humanity had spent centuries looking up and wondering. But for the first time in history, it felt like we were finally on the edge of an answer. He thought of it all. The ancient builders who may have seen lights in their skies, the prophets who spoke of fiery chariots, the strange signals that came and went, the whistleblowers who risked everything to speak their truth, and the microbes that could ride through the stars waiting for a home. Each piece was a fragment of a puzzle, scattered across time, waiting for someone to see the whole picture. Maybe that someone would be his generation. The new dawn of discovery. Ethan's eyes flicked to the news feed on his screen. Humanity was moving faster than ever before. NASA's Artemis program was preparing to return humans to the moon, and this time, they weren't stopping there. Plans for lunar bases were already underway, testing ground for the technology that would carry explorers farther still, to Mars. The James Webb Space Telescope had already changed everything. It was peering into the dawn of creation, revealing galaxies that existed billions of years before Earth was born, and maybe, just maybe, glimpses of worlds with atmospheres that looked like ours. Scientists had already found exoplanets where sunlight filtered through clouds rich in water vapor, methane, and carbon dioxide, the signatures of potential life. And beyond that, projects like Breakthrough Listen were listening across the galaxy for radio signals, using the most powerful receivers ever built. Artificial intelligence was helping scan trillions of frequencies in real time, seeking patterns, repetition, something that said, we are not alone. Even private space exploration, SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others, had become the new pioneers, pushing deeper into space at a pace no government had managed before. Soon, humans might walk on Mars, or send probes into the hidden oceans of Europa and Enceladus. And when they did, what would they find waiting in the dark? The echoes of the unknown. Ethan wondered about the possibilities, some exhilarating, others terrifying. What if life, once discovered, wasn't microbial, but intelligent, and ancient? What if some civilizations had reached the stars long before us, and now watched us the way we watch the skies? He thought about the Fermi paradox, that haunting question, if the universe is so vast and full of potential life, where is everyone? Were they hiding? Destroyed? Or had they been here all along, quietly guiding, watching, waiting? Some scientists believed that we might not need to look for radio signals anymore, that advanced civilizations might communicate through quantum entanglement, neutrino bursts, or technologies we couldn't yet comprehend. Others feared that any contact could be dangerous, warning that broadcasting our presence might attract attention we weren't ready for. Still, humanity searched. Because that's what we did. We needed to know. Beyond the horizon. Ethan returned to his telescope one last time, though now it felt more like a portal than a toy. He focused on a faint star near the edge of the Milky Way, a tiny glimmer among billions. Somewhere out there, he imagined a world circling that light. Maybe it had oceans beneath an icy crust, or forests glowing under alien skies. Maybe someone there was looking up, wondering if they were alone. He whispered to himself, maybe we're both wondering the same thing. He thought of what the next 100 years might bring: crewed missions to Mars, telescopes orbiting other stars, probes reaching the edges of interstellar space, perhaps even a message from beyond. And he wondered, when that day comes, when the first undeniable proof of life beyond Earth arrives, how will we react? Will we unite as a species, finally seeing ourselves as one family in a vast universe? Or will we fear the unknown, as we have so many times before? What if the truth isn't what we expected? What if we've been part of something far greater all along, seeds scattered across the stars, slowly remembering where we came from? Ethan leaned back, eyes still fixed on the stars, and smiled. The mystery wasn't over. It had only just begun. The watchers among us. Some say we are alone. Others say we are surrounded. But perhaps the truth is simpler: we are all connected. From ancient pyramids to faraway moons, from radio bursts to secret files, the signs are everywhere. Maybe life doesn't just exist out there, it thrives there. Maybe it's waiting for us to find it. Or maybe, it's been waiting for us to listen. The end.